Star Trek Picard, Season 3, or as I like to call it, Season 1, because the first 2 seasons have been removed digitally from my memory banks. I'm Candler Bud, and this is Grab the Remote Truckasodes.
Warning, major spoilers
ahead.
Daniel, thank you so much for being here.
You are welcome. Thanks for having me.
So we're going to talk about the first 5 episodes, the first half, because there's going to be 10, of Star Trek Picard. And I got to tell you right off the bat, I have a few fun little nitpicks that we'll talk about where I'm like, I wish they would have done this a little bit differently. But I got to tell you, and other people have said this is the best, the first great Star Trek since Bill Clinton was in the White House. I have been so happy with this season. I hated the first 2. Sorry for those of you who liked the first 2. But I have been so happy with this season, and it has been something I've just looked forward to every week to see this. So I'm dying to know, we haven't really discussed this, we've texted a little bit, but I'm dying to know, Daniel, what you thought of the first 5 episodes of Season 3 of Picard.
I think I'm just about verbatim right there with you. Basically, except for seasons 1 and 2, I'm a lot easier. I'm not much of a critic. So basically, I'm like, season 1 was Picard. I don't care. It's Star Trek. It's Picard. It's my Star Trek that I loved. And Picard was back. It was great. Got to see some data. Was great. Just started to go off the rails a little bit at the end. Season 2 again. I was like, all right, I'll give it another try. Let's try it. Yeah, just wasn't perfect. And then the Q stuff, that stuff they really mishandled that. And then of course all the new, honestly, most of the new characters is kind of stuff that it's just too much shoehorning of new things in there, trying to extend it. And now they seem to have headed down the proper path of what would Picard really be doing is he'd be involved with the original crew in some way. Again, on this 3rd season, I think I'm right there with you I have some nitpicks, some stuff. I'm like, gosh, haven't we done this before? Isn't this hiding in the nebula? Very Star Trek 2-ish. Isn't this, stealing a ship and running off rogue, a little Star Trek 3-ish? It's a little, I'm like, oh, the doctor went crazy and we have to go on a stolen ship mission to fix it.
Well, Picard season 3 is not the first to steal from the nebula. They've used the nebula many, many a times.
Well, if it's a great place to hide, it's a great place to hide. I don't know what you're going to do. So, just because somebody did it before doesn't mean you can't hide in the nebula also. So
that's also true. I don't recall a gravity well.
No, the gravity well is new.
That feels like it's new.
Isn't that a black hole?
And we've had other spacefaring beings, but that was, even though we've seen it before, I really enjoyed that moment when
I thought it would have been very cool if it would have actually, they mentioned Farpoint, which I thought would have been really cool to see. That was where those guys were from. That the Farpoint creatures come back. Talk about full circle, first and last. They already did the full circle thing in Star Trek: The Next Generation with Q and ending it with Q. It was great. In fact, very full circle when they had a lot of integration of the first episodes.
I think all good things might be the greatest, at least my favorite last episode of any series. I can't think of a better one.
And I enjoyed Voyagers. And what's funny is we're finally getting to see a little bit of what my pet peeve with the even after Enterprise, I was like, why, stop going backwards and trying to retcon everything. I want to see stuff forward, which is why I thought Discovery would be better than it is. And it's good. It's got good story points, but it just goes off and does, too much to be different and edgy. But what I wanted to see, and we've always talked about this, I thought the next best show, you bring Voyager back from the Delta Quadrant, and the way they should have brought him back was, we found this new transwarp technology, and that's how we get home. So we get this great technology, we make our way home, we're the conquering heroes, and we outfit a new ship, and we take characters from all of the other Star Treks that we love, the people that wanted to continue, Worf, he jumped over to DS9. You could take a couple of the Voyager folks, a couple of Generation folks, a couple of DS9, and you form a new crew with some new characters, but you get a few pieces of everybody and you say, okay, now we're going to go back to the Delta Quadrant. This time we're not lost. This time we're not out of reach. We can get home anytime we want. We're going to explore, just like we've been doing in the Alpha Quadrant this whole time with Next Generation. So I think that would have been the ideal series. Pardon me, my screensaver is going on here.
No,
But yeah, I think that's what they should have done with next gen. After Voyager came home, would have been a good time to have the show Star Trek Titan and have Riker go back out with his own crew. And now we're kind of getting all that in a fill-in. So
I heard someone say this, that they wish that Star Trek The Next Generation cast had not gone straight into the movies because it never gave us a chance to really miss them. Star Trek The Motion Picture was, 15 or 16 years after the original series had ended.
Right.
As you recall, The Next Generation ended with All Good Things, and then they jumped right into production of the first film, Generations.
Yeah.
But this is, what we're seeing now is what's happened years later, decades later even, and we've really missed them. We didn't realize we missed them. I didn't realize I missed them until I saw this season. I take that back. My favorite moment from Picard season 1 or 2 was when Riker was making pizza at his house. Seeing Riker was not always my favorite character. He was probably third or fourth or maybe even fifth. He kind of got lost in the shuffle because we had so many other great characters like Worf, Data, and Picard and so forth. But dadgummit, Jonathan Frakes has grown into this role so beautifully. I think he might be my favorite character now. And I can't believe I'm saying that. I absolutely adore, well, a few nitpicks that we'll get into a little bit, but I absolutely adore his performance in this season. And dadgummit, Michael Dorn, this Worf is better than ever. I think in The Next Generation, there was always this idea that we had to see Worf get his ass kicked just so we can tell the audience, oh, this alien is really, really strong. So we got to show Worf get beat up. And also, there's some funny YouTube videos about this. It was probably more the fight choreography. But often, Michael Dorn looks kind of awkward in fight choreography in the old shows. But in this, I mean, he's leaner, he's stronger. I mean, he looks amazing.
Yeah, he's aged the best out of the whole crew.
I mean, unbelievable.
Maybe he should play the android.
I know, right? I mean, I got chills watching him. I mean, and the comedy, it makes the comedy so much better because he's more based in reality and he's stronger and we believe he could kill you at any moment, which I think adds to the comedy. So when that whole line with Rafi, when is that her name, Rafi?
Yeah.
Is that her name? Yeah, she's great. And I'm glad they kept her on because I think she was one of the few characters I liked that were.
Well, they kept her on and they got her back on track too. Instead of a love story, we've got, badass Rafi out there, doing stuff.
But that scene where she goes, I will take this knife and stick it right up to, he will stick this knife and stick it right up to, and Michael Dorn said, I do not do that anymore. And all that with the chamomile tea, it's just classic Worf. Excellent, and it is fantastic to see him back. I've never seen, this is the best, as far as I can remember, the best Beverly Crusher storyline. I can't think of anything that comes close to this. I mean, it's clear that the writers loved Crusher, and also they're fans of The Next Generation. I mean, it's clear. I mean, this is just a love letter to the fans. So let's talk about
go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Well, I was saying it's. I hate the way they have to go back now. I hate that we missed all these years of being able to see. I would have rather just continued the show in some form and kept it going. But going back and fixing it by saying yes, they finally got together and they had a kid. Honestly, the prodigal son, storyline done to death and everything, and of course with Kirk and David, and so hopefully it's not going to end the same way, but it is neat seeing that, but it's more believable with these characters because they were the whole time on Next Generation you thought they're going to get together, and then looks like they finally did, although bummer, it didn't work out, but she just cut everybody off and ran away. still not sure. I really hope they get a little more backstory on why she took off, and then why she is it just because she didn't want Picard to know he had a kid, so she decided to run away and cut everybody off? And then what about very curious to see what's going on with the kid. What is it that how is he connected to this whole thing?
Glad you mentioned that. And I think this speaks to the writing is really strong and the acting is really strong. I mean, let's talk about the facts. Picard and Beverly, we know the history. She gets pregnant. She leaves, never tells him he has a son, never sees him again for 20 years. I mean, what are you thinking, Dr. Crusher? I mean, you don't have to marry him. You don't even have to be anything. At least let his father be involved, who you know is going to be an excellent father. He probably would have retired. He probably would have gone into archaeology. But then that scene where she is explaining her side, I still think what she did was wrong. I still 100% disagree with it, especially since she's taking her son on dangerous missions now. That's what really gets me. It's like, well, you did all this, but now you're living this dangerous life, smuggling medical supplies to needy planets.
Can't blame Picard for the mess they're in right now.
Sure, absolutely. But I got to hand it. I mean, it was so well acted, and that scene with the two of them was just fantastic. And that first time when Crusher goes in on the bridge and they look each other, they don't say anything, and then Picard knows it's my son. I mean, that was magic. So that's kind of one of my nitpicks. It's like, no, really, why would she do that? But maybe we'll learn more. Another nitpick I have is, and it's about Riker, but the Riker's given the bridge command. And then Picard and Riker not only start to go at it and disagree, but they're doing it in front of everyone in such a loud way. I don't think they would have done that. It seemed like Riker gets into anger territory.
A little quick.
A little quick, yeah. And by the next episode...
That was very forced. That was forced drama, and they could have done that. You could have done completely without that.
And it could have been more dramatic if it was more
both characters. Yeah.
Like, are you sure we should do this?
To do that. Yeah.
Admiral, you're out of line. And you could have even seen the other officers on the bridge, like looking around, like they can't hear what they're saying behind them because they're whispering. I think would have been much more effective. But again, they made up the next scene in the next episode,
right?
And it was,
which almost makes it worse, though. I got to tell you, I really hate what they did there. I really don't like that they, my characters don't all have to get along, but when you have built these characters the way you've built them, where they would both go to the mat for each other and die for each other and trust each other implicitly. There isn't a lot of, they could have been a couple, it's been a few years, you sure you still know? And, okay, well, I trust you because you've never done me wrong before. I think that would have been better than this, sudden, you've killed us all, this.
Yeah, why even say it then at that point? Yeah. If it happened, if that's the truth, it's.
Yeah. It just didn't fit. It didn't fit Riker at all. He was, suddenly this.
Or Picard. I thought Picard should have known better to keep it on the down low. It kind of reminded me of I'm going to kill my whole argument by using Star Trek Generations, but that moment with Captain Kirk on the Enterprise B when he's like, tractor beam. What? Tractor beam. And like he's whispering, you left space dock without a tractor beam? Like he didn't yell in front of the entire... He left space. Are you kidding? We're going to whisper right now so they don't hear us because I don't want to undermine you. Yeah. Because it doesn't help anyone if the captain is undermined. I mean, that's common sense. But, God, that's a great point, Daniel. Dang it. But, yeah, I thought it was out of sorts for both of them. Captain Shaw. Is that his name, Shaw?
Yeah. Great actor. Gosh.
Fantastic. At first, I thought, oh, great. This is going to be... He's going to be the typical, because he's a white male and he's not one of the main characters. He's going to be like the worst person in the world. But he is written so well that, he's an asshole, but you kind of get where he's coming from often.
Right.
And, God, I thought he was dead when he fell over and gave command to Riker. That was fantastic. And now he's coming around to kind of see where they're coming from. You were talking about earlier when you were talking about retreads, that whole thing when he goes off on on Picard in the holodeck about Wolf 359. I'm like, I've heard this before. It's Cisco in the first episode of DS9.
Yeah, and it's like it's like any of them that at this point these are all enlightened people, and everybody understands the nature of the Borg and what they do, and they know that you are not at all in control when you were assimilated,
Completely agree.
So why are they suddenly now it was your fault, please.
How cool was it seeing Ro? That was a complete surprise. I have not heard any spoilers, and that was awesome.
It was very cool seeing Ro. I'm hoping. I mean, we're completely open here, right? This is not a spoiler.
No, spoilers abound. Spoilers.
All right, cool.
We've already given away several spoilers.
That's true. I know, but I was thinking that earlier.
And it'll be spoiler recap in the title. So you're free to spoil away.
So spoil. So never really liked Ro myself. Never liked the character. I just don't. This smart ass constantly spitting in everybody's face that's trying to help her, and I don't knocking away the hand that feeds her constantly. I always thought she was ungrateful and petulant and everything, and this actually redeemed her in the very end, the very, very end. I thought right up until that, I was like, "Ooh, I still don't like you." It's just you're still the same old ungrateful, brat. But I really liked the way that moment with her and Picard. That was really good. The actress is amazing. I've seen her in so many things, and she's great. When to discuss not liking a character, it's funny. It's like I met along those lines. Sidebar: I met one of the guy that was in Shawshank Redemption, that played the bad guy, the one that was just giving Andy a real hard time, if you know what I mean. In the redheaded guy, he's been in a lot of Titanic, Jim Cameron stuff. And along with the woman who played
was he ever in Trek? Was he ever in a Trek?
I don't know. He might have been, but he's been in so much stuff. He's amazing. He's in Departed. He played one of the cops in Departed and stuff. And it was he and the other lady who played John Connor's adopted mom in Terminator 2.
And she was in Generations. And
yes, that's right. Yeah. And but anyway, they were seated next to each other because they were buddies, and it was one of these conventions. And I was like, man, I told her I was like, I was just doing me. I was like, I loved you in this, and then I was like, I didn't like you. And then he gives me this dirty look, and I was like, dude, that's not you. You did an amazing job of playing this horrible person. And he was like, I'm like, I loved your acting. I didn't like your character, but I wasn't supposed to like your character. But anyway, it just was funny. But he took offense that he did such a great job playing an asshat. Yeah, I forget where I was on that, but go ahead.
Well, back to Ro, that actor, and I'm blanking on her name, but she,
Michelle
she was
Forbes?
I think you're right, and she was in Battlestar Galactica, which was created by or produced and created by Ronald D. Moore. At least the reboot was, and so he brought her along, and that whole few episodes that she was in was fantastic, and this episode reminded me of Battlestar Galactica, and not just because she was in it, but it was similar. It was similar to those episodes that she was in, not in a bad way, in a cool way, at least to me, anyway.
Definitely. Yeah, she was great, and like I said, those parts were the whole thing redeemed the character for me. So much so that again, I was not happy when she bought the farm at the end there. So, but I was kind of thinking, okay, if they had to kill somebody, because I'm not looking forward to, this idea that they're going to kill off some of the, and they had that little red herring with Worf there where they killed him, and you're like,
ooh, I was going to be mad. I was going to be so angry.
I was going to be really angry because it was stupid. The way he went down, it was like, he went out like a wuss. I mean, it's just, he just didn't, I was going to be mad. So I'm glad 99% I was like, they got to be messing with us. And but I was really going to be mad.
But that's one of the things about where we are now. In a way, it kind of helps with the storytelling, because it wouldn't. I mean, back in TNG, although they did kill Tasha Yar, but back in, I mean, we knew that they weren't going to die. It's sometimes they would even have a trailer for the next week on Star Trek,
Yeah.
and it would show. I'm like, well, they're not going to die clearly because they're in the next
Yeah.
episode. But
Well, Game of Thrones changed all that, because you were like, oh my gosh, they killed the guy, like
The guy.
the guy. I'm like, this is starring. That'd be like, Picard getting killed first season. You're like, holy smokes. So that was pretty much like you couldn't get attached to anybody, and I think that's what they're trying to do here. And I still am concerned that they might try to take somebody else out. But just. I thought losing Data the way we did back in what was it, Nemesis?
Nemesis.
Was just lame and just useless. So, and then now that has really thrown them for a loop now, and they were going for the ooh and the ah, and now they've blown their shot at being able to use the character properly. Now that they have to keep making up we found another one. It's just or it's everybody looks like Brent Spiner. So. But thank God they can keep him around in some form, I guess. But still waiting to see that. We know that Lore is coming back. We know that
LeVar
Professor
Burton.
Moriarty, who
that
would have been a movie villain. That should have been a movie villain from the beginning.
I'm glad you brought that up, because the only reason why I know that is because you see his face. I've not read spoilers. I really haven't.
No, it's
the
their
only way
trailer.
I know. Yeah. Right, yeah, so that's technically not a spoiler. But right, you see him in the trailer. Which brings me to this. I wasn't crazy about, but I appreciate that they elaborated on it. When Picard was with his son, and he was like, we're going down, we're almost on life support. How is the holodeck still working? And he explained, to keep people from going crazy. Well written.
That is a good one. That's a good, it's like backup life support and backup power there.
Yeah, I kind of wonder about the logic. It's like, well, can they use that if that's all they have? Can they not extract that at the last minute? But it's a separate power cell. There's no way. So I'm wondering what the payoff, and I guess the payoff is Moriarty. So how does he come to play into all this? Is he's on revenge?
Is he just another thing that is Daystrom that they stole? Because now people are like, is Lore Is he there? Is that what they stole, or did they steal? Did they steal like a bunch of stuff? So they have this rogues gallery of things they can bring back, and these top secret, deadly things. This is basically the CDC of technology. The way they're setting it up, all these horrible things that they still need to study and understand. And I'm sure that a sentient holodeck creature would, a sentient holodeck being would qualify there. And then of course Data's evil twin, disassembled for study. Why did he go wrong? What could be done? And I'm sure they're still trying to copy, because wouldn't Starfleet love an army of Datas out there? But of course they're got to be careful they don't end up with an army of Lore. So that would be a bad thing. So I think that's got to be, I'm hoping that's where that leads to. I hope they don't just pull him up on the holodeck and he takes over again. That would be
well. So he's on the holodeck, and he was given this program where he thinks he's in the real world. So he lives, decades. And I think that I still feel like it's going to be a revenge thing. I think he has family, and then suddenly it deletes, and then he's like, "How dare you lie to me like this? Create this family for it to."
Yeah, I think it could be Lore. Maybe brings him back. I think maybe Lore. Either they stole Lore, or somehow he's already been reassembled and he's pulling all these strings. He's always teaming up, like he tried it with the Borg. Like, I'm going to take over the Borg and we're going to take over the universe. And now maybe he's trying it with changelings. Or maybe, they brought him back, and I still think Lore might be the one who brings and who finds a way to bring Moriarty to life, whether it be portable hollow emitters, kind of like what they did with Rafi. Like, they're already kind of planting that seed of, remember, there's hollow emitters, which can make a person look real and be here. And so maybe they do that. Look what they did with, the Doctor on Voyager. Those characters
Robert Picardo, great actor.
Yeah, fantastic. So, and it's a shame that, of course, coming back to the Changeling storylines, that we can't get any more of Renee. The original changeling of them all, Odo. So he was a fantastic actor. Loved him on Benson, everything. He was just great.
And let's talk about another great actor that is no longer with us that would really help this season, and that is Majel Barrett. I think not as Troy's mom, even though I enjoyed her as Troy's mom, but I think I'm trying to think of all the, whether it's the voice of Kit in Knight Rider or Charlie's Angels. There's so many excellent voice over acting in television. I think my favorite is the computer. How awesome would that be if she was still with us and she was the computer voice in this season?
It would be cool. And too bad we have the technology. They probably could pull enough of what what she's spoken already and everything and get her. They could have done it and had her back at it. But yeah, she was great. That was a comforting voice to those that love Star Trek. That
almost so computer. That I didn't like it when she would do the last time on the Next Generation. That always took me. I'm like, no, she's the computer. She's not.
Right.
That kind of took me out of it a little bit, but that's syndication for you. So, what are things that any other nitpicks from the first 5 episodes?
Just a lot of that. I was like, I wasn't super thrilled with the whole son storyline, the whole idea that he has a son, but I'm like, it makes sense, so it's not that bad. But it makes me angry that this character and love and who was such a good man and did so much right, that they just seem to be going out of their way to point out how flawed he is. And that everybody, you're so flawed that, I don't want you to raise your own child, and then he has to suffer this loss, that he lost all those years. I know as a dad, and you're a dad, just imagine that. Imagine
awful
meeting your child 20 years later, and knowing what you missed. And
this is not someone he had a one-night stand with. This is a dear colleague, a dear friend.
They worked together for, I forget how long they, obviously 7 or so years on the series, and that was roughly a real-time sequence, I think. And then, of course, through the movies, it's probably you're looking at close to 15 years of just being on the same ship together.
Sure.
I wish they would go into more detail about how long was Picard on the Enterprise E, before did he go to F and G before he jumped over to being an admiral, or, did he, that kind of thing. But anyway, don't like how much they seem to be wanting to put Picard through on all 3 seasons of this show, where they're just really putting him through the ringer. But I guess save the universe a few times. But yeah, and the biggest pet peeve, honestly, the biggest thing that really threw me out was the whole Riker and Picard arguing and him being just absolutely that completely out of character. You've killed us all silliness. I thought that was just.
I'm surprised that I don't know why I'm surprised, but I'm surprised that you agree with me on that, which makes me think that there are probably a lot of other people that agree with us on that. Because I thought, wait a minute, is that weird? Usually when I have opinion, at first my gut is that I'm the only person that feels that way, but I guess not, and that is cool. Yeah. One moment I did like of putting Picard through the ringer was the Shaw monologue in the elevator or the turbo lift when he said, you dropped the saucer section on a planet and
that was funny.
You broke the prime directive to try to get with this village girl and then mentioning the all good things, the Devron system, where he created time paradox. I thought that was funny. It
was like you got a little bit of the chicken and the egg thing going on. That was pretty funny.
Yeah, but, he's great.
The actor is good.
What was the other thing? Oh, so let's talk about the second half. Let's talk about things you'd like to see and or things you think we will see.
Well, first off, the reunion is taking far too long. I wish they had gotten the characters a little bit more. I realized that would have been more of a retread of Star Trek 3, the whole crew back and helping. But, I wanted to see, would like to see Geordi back sooner. Who else are we missing? Just Geordi?
Geordi and the other Data, but that's not Data. But
right,
Geordi
yeah. Brent
Worf
Spiner,
physically being there.
Yeah, and it'll be disappointing.
It would have made me so mad. Would have made me so mad if they would have killed Worf without them getting together. That would have been a very Star Wars sequel thing to do.
Yeah. Boy, we should do a whole episode on that one, I tell you.
Oh, yes, we do. And we will. I got to tell you, I'm kind of surprised I'm saying this, but not surprised. We got to see Janeway. She's been brought up too many times. I think we're going to see Kate Mulgrew in the. I don't know this. I have not read anything, but
No,
I
it'll happen.
predict we're going to see. And seeing her acting chops in other shows, I'd like to see this older, wiser Admiral Janeway. I think this will be fun
Yeah.
to see. And
It
how
would
cool
be.
is it that 7 of 9 completely, to me anyway, completely fits in with the cast. It totally,
Yeah.
it makes sense because there's that shared Borg history. But she,
Yeah.
as an actor, she totally is totally up to par with all of them. I think anyway.
She would have been one of my picks to go back with them on the Titan, to go, again, come back with the technology, outfit the Titan with transwarp or whatever it is, send a whole new crew, with, O'Brien could come back, Worf would come back, Seven from the, Voyager, maybe have the Doctor since he can go, but just send them back out and have adventures. That would have been awesome, because so much of our Star Trek, this is why I'm so happy about Picard, is because we are finally seeing the future, and not. I mean, even Discovery just upset me so much that we're going to go backwards again. We're going to retread and go backwards, and we're going to
And it
change
didn't
so
even
much.
it didn't even resemble. I wish they would have said this is set in an alternate timeline, because they weren't even.
Yeah.
They were like, "Come on, you're not even taking this universe seriously. You're not even.
No, and this whole idea.
You're not even
of,
trying
now
to look like
Spock
it."
has a sister, and the only reason we don't know
Yeah.
about it is because it's top secret. That's so stupid.
Stupid.
It's like just go forward. Like, and I think they realize that, and they've jumped it ahead to that,
Yeah.
10 million years in the future. And
But I don't want to.
to.
I don't want to talk about Discovery. It gets me upset.
Yeah.
But Picard season 3. But Picard
Yeah.
season 3 makes me happy.
And they're getting it right. So
Absolutely, so far. And I feel that the second half will. And all right, so 2 questions about Jack Crusher. One, will there be a spin-off series called Space Bros where he meets Wesley Crusher? Actually, 3 questions. 2, no, and 2, we saw Wesley Crusher in Nemesis. So where is he now? 3,
we saw him in, what was it? We saw him in Picard.
oh, in season 2?
Yeah.
See, I hated season 2 so much, I didn't even see all the episodes. So remind me, or tell the audience, what happened to Wesley Crusher in season 2?
Season 2, he just showed up to pluck, who was it? To pluck one of the characters up into the, remember the Traveler came to him, and then he became a Traveler, and so he showed up and was like, I'm a Traveler, you want to be a Traveler? And they went off and, started down the journey of potentially becoming a Traveler. Gosh, I can't even remember who it was. So was it the girl? Was it the
That became the
clone?
Borg Queen? Yeah,
No,
I'm telling you,
it
I hated
wasn't
season
that
2
one.
so much, I didn't even watch all of them. So I didn't even, I either forgot, because maybe I was drunk late one night watching it, or I don't think I saw that episode. So it
I think that
ended
was
with
like
him.
the end of the last. I think that was one of the stingers at the end of the last episode, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah,
So
you
it
should watch
ended
I
with
mean,
him. I'll watch it. So it ended with him rejoining the Travelers, basically.
Yeah, he was a Traveler. He showed
was,
up,
right?
He kind of just showed up and was like, hey, I'm this cool thing that jumps around, and you want to do it too, and we think you have potential. He was kind of recruiting, so kind of interesting. I can't remember what character it was. Because it's like me, like you two, I was like, all right, I gotta watch it, but I've already forgotten.
Well, I think that speaks to the season. I think it was not memorable. I think we're going to remember the first 5 episodes of season 3. I don't.
I know season 3 feels like a very long pause on season 8. Of Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Back to Jack Crusher. What do you think is going on in his head? I have a few random theories. What are yours, or do you have any?
Yeah, it's like, and I'm hoping they're not just shoehorning to make it about him so that they can, this. But I guess they had to have a whole reason to chase him down. But somehow, he's gotten infected with the changeling. I mean, did he did he do the horizontal mumbo jumbo with a pile of goo, or did he, what are they? Is he part of the experience? Is he part of the reason that they can now hide themselves? Did they experiment on him or I don't know. It's going to be. I worry that part of it is going to be really disappointing and lame. I'm a little worried about that.
Well, I don't like it often in shows where they'll do something like somebody will kill somebody and then suddenly you'll realize it's a dream. And they kept doing that in the fifth episode a bunch of times with them. I'm like, all right, enough already.
Yeah.
But I thought it was so well acted, his last line when he turns to his mom and he said, "There's something wrong with me." I'm like, okay, all right. I think I can enjoy this, possibly enjoy this ride. Here's a lame.
It's not lame. Yeah.
Well, this might be a lame theory, but I could see them doing something like this. Could it be something where, speaking of horizontal mambo, where somehow Picard's some type of Borg DNA gets into Picard and it's passed on through his son, something weird like that?
I hope not. I mean,
yeah, I hope not either, but it seems something like that.
Yeah. But it's like, because it's not Borg, it's Changeling. I mean, it's clear he's connected to this hive in some way, to this whatever. What do they call it? The collective, the
Great Link.
The Great Link. Yeah, he's connected to the Great Link in some way. It seems.
But to me, it looks more Borg than the Great Link. Just the spider looking. I mean, it's red and not, but it's what.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying I want this to happen. I'm just guessing what could.
You're just trying to figure out where they could be possibly going with this, and that's it's. I don't know. I guess that's one of the nice little mysteries is I don't have a clue, and I almost don't want to speculate too much to try to figure that out. But I hope it's a cool explanation, a cool reveal.
And I laughed when they brought up the accent because that had to be, okay, this is the best actor for this role.
Right.
The casting crew or whatever. They said, but he has an accent. Oh, we'll explain it in some line or whatever.
But, the best actors can do an American accent. So,
right. It's like, so why?
You guarantee this guy could.
Yeah.
So, but you're right. It's like, did they do that just so we would, is that a throwaway line to explain the accent? But they left the accent on purpose because they wanted him to sound like Picard and for you to constantly be reminded that that's his son.
You know what that reminds me of?
Oh.
In Nemesis, where they had to shave his head, Tom Hardy's head. I'm like, God, you really think we're stupid? Like, can he not have long hair? Like
couldn't have had hair when he was young. Yeah. Like, Picard came out of the womb bald and stayed that way. Yeah, that was kind of silly. Although I care, I enjoyed a lot of Nemesis, and Tom Hardy was a part I really enjoyed.
He's a wonderful actor, obviously, as he's proved us time and time again. I heard he had a lot of depression after Nemesis because the reviews just like killed him as an actor, just like, and he almost quit. And then look what happened to him. But back to two beefs I have with Jack Crusher, or questions about Jack Crusher. There's a scene where he was about to get on the transporter. Oh no, 7 of 9 gets him and says, "Put this on because you need to hide in plain sight." And he looks down the bag at the universe. I can't do that. Now, is that? I don't think this will work, or does he think there's no way I can possibly wear a Starfleet uniform? It's the worst organization. Because if it's the latter, that is stupid.
I don't think it's either. I think it's directly tied to the dream he just had. He just had a dream where he was standing in that uniform and he just killed these people. And so he's like, oh my God, I am not going to fulfill this prophecy that is in my head,
Daniel, you're a lot smarter than you look. That is you completely, okay. That I love that.
I think that's it. I mean, he saw, because just 30 seconds or so before, I forget, it wasn't long, but it was, yeah. In fact, I knew as soon as she handed it to him, I was like, don't put it on.
Yeah. And another thing, you were talking about being enlightened. That scene where, although it was well written and I enjoyed it, but where Jack Crusher's in the bar and he asked Picard, without revealing himself who he was, hey, what about having a family? And Picard says, Starfleet's all the family I've ever needed. You would think Jack Crusher would be enlightened enough to know, well, clearly he doesn't know I'm here. He doesn't know I'm alive. Right. So, I mean...
And he didn't say that because he never wanted children. He is saying that because
he doesn't have children.
I don't have kids. I missed my chance, so I'm going to choose to be happy with what I've been doing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and I'm still unclear with his kind of animosity towards Picard. That wasn't quite explained.
Oh yeah, it's yeah. Unless Crusher spent 20 years talking shit about him, why?
Why
Like
exactly?
because
Why?
I mean he's oh, my dad is the one of the other than Kirk, he's the greatest Starfleet captain ever. I hate him so much. It's
Right. Yeah.
yeah, it's dumb. Yeah. Uh, or maybe they're gonna tie it all to that comment. You know, I came to meet him. He was mean.
It
You
was
know,
mean. But I got
but
to tell you, Daniel, I have been just so jaded with so much material as of late, content in film and
mhm.
TV, that it's, especially when it's bringing back old IPs, that they just, for whatever reason, and I don't want to get into the whys, but for whatever reason, it's just, and someone
Yeah.
has called season 3 Picard the Top Gun Maverick of Star Trek. And I think
Yeah.
that's a good way to, I mean, we were all shocked that Top Gun Maverick didn't suck, and we didn't hate it, and we enjoyed it. Oh, it was fun. And I
Mhm.
think this has been just such a pleasant surprise for me anyway.
No, I mean, I really have enjoyed it. It's the Star Trek. Other than those few little nitpicks, it is just really a pleasure. The end credits are just amazing. They're fun.
Yes. Is
It's
it Jerry
you know,
Goldsmith, the music? Jerry
they have
Goldsmith?
they have a lot of that, and they have I think they're calling back stuff from a lot of the movies
The Klingon
and
music from the
that.
motion picture?
Yeah, just
Dun
lots.
dun 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 dun. Yeah.
Everything looks so good. Oh, by the way, call out to that actress that plays the Vatic. Is it what is it? The bad guy, the bad
Oh, yeah.
girl,
Christopher
bad
Plummer's daughter.
person.
Christopher
Yeah,
Plummer's daughter. She's
Amanda
awesome.
Plummer. Yeah, she's incredible. She has that. It's like a Christopher Walken. She has a way of speaking and a way of being that is just part of her shtick, for lack of a better term, and not derogatory in any way. They sound a certain way, they talk a certain way, the inflection and tone, and she has always had, and she's played ditzy characters, like crazy characters that are also villainous, even comedically villainous, like So I Married
Pulp
an Axe
Fiction.
Murderer. Yeah, and she's always just so cool and so interesting, and seeing her here in her most villainous, form, even though it's still Star Trek villain. Star Trek villains, they're just still, they're great villains, but they're still a little over the top and Lex Luthorish. But it's great.
Speaking,
She's phenomenal.
and I mean, talk about method acting. She cut off her hand.
I know,
I mean,
right? But
that
she threw
is,
it right back. That was
I
pretty
know,
cool.
that was cool, by the way. So, speaking of things feeling Star Trek, I curse in real life. I've seen many movies with cursing. Why is it so off-putting for me to hear cursing in Star Trek? It's so
because
strange to me.
because they had built this world where they grew beyond it,
Exactly.
and here we
Evidence
are.
in
Oh,
Star
they're
Trek
just
4, The Voyage Home. In
yeah,
this time period, you have to curse every other word to
yeah.
get a point across. And you're right. You hit the nail on the head. Now there's sometimes where I liked it. I liked it when Data said shit in Generations. I liked it when Riker said, "Let's boldly get the hell out of here." But I mean the GD every other time
Oh
and
yeah,
the
and
F
the F
words.
word is
Yeah,
strong. It is jarring to hear these noble humans and what they've achieved, and now they're. I mean, and Discovery is doing that, of course, and we're talking about Discovery. But anyway,
we don't talk about
it's
Discovery.
yeah, but it's jarring. It's you've created a world of utopia and peace, and here's the other thing that has bothered me since Deep Space Nine is I thought we didn't need money anymore, and all of a sudden everybody's all about some gold pressed platinum. You know, so
I can believe we can transport someone or we can fold space and time before I can believe we got rid of money. I'm like, how does that work?
but a socialist utopia that
Right.
that the world has become. Yeah, I think it's funny that they've proven that no, people still want to have. It is the nature of human to want a better spaceship than the other guy has,
Sure.
and who
Sure.
pays for that? So yeah,
Totally.
'cause otherwise, what's the point? You got to go out there and get the stuff. So
Yes. Well, this has been fun. Daniel, please come back when we review the entire season and or the second half of season 3. This has been a joy. Daniel, thanks you so much. This is Grab the Remote. Trekisodes. We're out of here.